Davis. It's probably, well, I won't ask you, but I have 3 daughters, and when I read the Wall Street Journal story, I was shocked, but in some ways not surprised, because I think we've seen a lot of this. So when you are looking at your applications, your services, do you balance the mental health needs of Americans versus the addictive nature of the products that you sell?
Thank you, Senator. I think you were going to ask me if I have children. I do. I have a 23-year-old daughter. First of all, I don't agree with the characterization of our product, but in fact, we do think quite seriously about the
what don't you?
safety
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt here. What don't you agree with? I just said addictive nature.
Yeah,
I said addictive
yes,
nature versus mental health. What 2 phrases did you not agree with?
So I disagree with calling our product addictive. I also think that's not how we build products. But to your question
You don't
about,
let me. I want to drill down. Sorry, I'm going to drill down on that. You don't think your products are addictive in terms of teenagers constantly wanting to be engaged in social media?
Senator, as a parent and as someone who talks to parents quite a bit, it's certainly all parents. I haven't met a parent who doesn't think about the time that their child spends on their phone. And one of the things actually that we've done to try to address that is to make people aware of how much time they're spending. There's a dashboard where they can see it. They can actually set a reminder to let them know that they've been on, so that they'll get off. In addition, we're looking at something called Take a Break, which would prompt somebody when they've been on to take a break. So that I think gets at your question.
So is your bit, but let me just, I want to, well, I'll get to mental health, but I want to drill down on this addictive element. But isn't part of your business model to have more eyeballs for a longer amount of time engaged using your services?
Respectfully, Senator, that's not actually how we build our products. In fact, we made changes to our news feed to allow for more meaningful interactions, knowing that would impact the time spent. In fact, it did impact the time spent by about 50 million hours per day, but we did it anyway because we were trying to build a more positive experience.
So can you address the issue of mental health? Were you aware of these mental health challenges for teenage girls? I'm sure you've seen the statistics more broadly about suicides for teenage American females. What are you doing to address that? And were you aware of these challenges according to the Wall Street Journal that was in that study?
Certainly, Senator. I am very aware of the issues that teens face. I used to be a middle school and high school teacher, and had a teenage daughter and was a teen myself. And being a teen comes with challenges, and that is reflected sometimes in our platform. And what we have done and why we did this research was to identify where those challenges may be on our platform and how we could potentially change our product to help. What we saw with that research was that out of 12 issues, really challenging issues like anxiety, depression, loneliness, sadness, that out of 11 out of 12 more teens said that they thought that their experience on the platform was helpful than harmful. Now, the teens where they found it harmful,
do you believe that? I don't.
We actually want to make those changes. We want to make changes to actually provide them with a better experience. And so
and sorry, I'm going to interrupt. My time's getting shorter.
Ahead, sorry.
Do you have evidence that those issues, isolation, mental health, do you have evidence that those challenges and mental health challenges are actually helped by using, for example, Instagram more or less? Are you telling me that the use of your products actually limits those challenges? I think it's almost obvious that they increase those challenges. So what's your testimony today? I thought you said that to actually reduce that. Is that what you just said? Because I find that quite remarkable.
Thank you, Senator. Actually, there's a blog post that our Vice President of Research has released on this. I want to be really careful that this research is not causal research. It's what teens said about their experiences on our platform. And the numbers that you're talking to speak specifically to teens who identified as suffering from these particular issues. I think what's really important here, though, is that this research actually is being used to make product changes, to identify places where we can be more supportive of teens. So, for example, take a break is something I mentioned earlier in some of the questioning. This is something that we would surface to a teen who may be online for a long period of time and give them an opportunity to take a break so that they don't rabbit hole down a direction that maybe not positive. We're also looking at something called nudging, where we would nudge them towards uplifting or inspiring content because they told us that content can be helpful. Our goal here is to really, right now, the research shows that 8 out of 10 teens say that they have a positive to neutral experience. Our goal is for that to be 10 out of 10 and for it to be positive. We want to provide a better experience for teens.
Okay, let me end here. I'm going over my time, but I don't see any other senators waiting for questions, and I know the chairman is going to come back to wrap this up. But look, I think the issues of mental health, of depression, of isolation, I think the social media engagement, particularly for teenagers, enhances these challenges. And I think we're going to see this more and more studies. And you mentioned take a break. I'm not a big fan of the Chinese Communist Party. Matter of fact, most things they do, I instinctively disagree with. But you may have seen recently that they have, the way they do things, it wasn't a law, I guess it was an edict from on high, from the party and Xi Jinping. But they have told Chinese teenagers to take a real break and to limit the amount of time that a teenager in China can spend on social media or gaming or things like this. Do you think the U.S. government needs to look at doing something like that? An edict, if you guys won't. I personally believe that we're going to look back like 20 years from now and see the massive social mental health challenges that were created by this era when teenagers had phones in their faces starting in 7th and 8th grade and continue to have them. And we're going to look back and we're going to go, what in the hell were we thinking? Maybe it might be the one time where we say, why didn't we, like the Chinese Communist Party, say, take a break? What do you think about the Chinese new edict on taking a break for over 1 billion people? And should the United States government think about doing something like that? Mandating, not relying on you guys, because I do think your business model, in part, is eyeballs and time spent online with your services. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. If you have less viewers and less time, you're going to get less revenue. So can you really, on your own, help people take a break, or do we, the U.S. government, have to help people take a break like the Chinese are doing right now?
Respectfully, Senator, I think that there's some complexity here. So, for example, during COVID, young people used apps like ours to actually stay connected. It was a lifeline for them. They couldn't go to school. They couldn't go to their colleges. They couldn't do their graduations. Social apps actually provided them with a way to stay connected to their friends and their family. So I think it's a bit more complex than that. That said, I think I would certainly like for apps like ours to build experiences where parents can actually have some control over the time that their children are spending, similar to what we did in Messenger Kids. I think parents would far more welcome the ability to set time controls than to have an edict on high tell them how to parent their children.
So what do you think of the Chinese edict? I know you guys aren't allowed in China, but what do you think of it?
As a parent, I'd much prefer to be able to determine my child's time online than to have China tell me how to raise my child.